Hello, and welcome to Russ's Movie Corner. My name is Russ, and as you can see, I am sitting in front of my movie corner. I don't have a movie right here, I actually have this graphic. That's because I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different episode today. This is going to be a comments on comments. And this light in front of me right here, that's actually giving me a lot of nice, direct, natural light, is probably going to be cutting in and out because the batteries don't work. If you watch my previous video on the unboxing of the Epson terrain, you'll know that. But today I wanted to kind of go over this, and this was actually on a Tim Barnett video from a year ago. You can kind of see on the comment up there at the top, it says Brian Doyle, and it says 1 year ago. And it was something that both Tim Barnett and Mike Winger of Bible Thinker YouTube page already talked about. They did a video, so I'll link those videos down below. And but they did it in a very, very quick fashion, so they were trying to do it in like a 3-minute thing. And I thought, there are a few things on this list that need a little bit more time than just 3 minutes, okay? So I'm going to go over each of these objectives. This is the first 7, and then I will bring up the next list, which has 8 through 10. And I will kind of discuss each one of these as they become pertinent, because this is something that I believe a lot of people don't really understand much about. Okay, now, Tim Barnett, on his video, he discusses all of the logical fallacies that are used in this, and I'm going to kind of answer a few of those. I'm not going to be mentioning a lot of the different fallacies. I might mention a couple of them, but I didn't go down and write down each and every single one of these. So if you want them, again, Tim Barnett's video will be down in the description, and you can go down and you can listen to what he says, because he's an actual English teacher. He knows a lot about those fallacies and how they work and how all that stuff goes. So basically what I'm going to be doing today is I'm just going to kind of go down each one, and I'm going to kind of address it as it is, and then I'm going to post this up on my channel, and you can let me know in the comments below what you think about my objections to these. I will be reading out of the Bible, and I will be kind of addressing some of the stuff that they talk about here, okay? Because again, like I said, not that Mike and Tim did a bad job, they just didn't quite answer all of the objections the way that I thought they should have been answered as a Christian. So I was like, maybe I should respond and just kind of, do it in my own way. So not going to be 3 minutes long, but I'm going to try to keep it around 30 to 40 minutes. So without further ado, let's get into this. So, number 1 says, the fact that a human being has to tell you about the existence of your God proves there's no God. We would be born with knowledge of its existence. Now, the funny thing is, we actually are. I mean, that's the thing. We actually are born with the innate knowledge of God in our hearts. We actually have a God-shaped hole in our hearts that we try to fill with a bunch of different things. Most people don't think about this, okay? Most atheists don't think about this. Every time you're out there and you're pursuing something, you're going out there and you're saying, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to do this, okay? Because that's what's going to bring me happiness. That's what's going to bring me fulfillment. And then it doesn't. Why doesn't it? Probably because you're pursuing the wrong thing, okay? And this is one of the things that Tim and Mike didn't mention. Now, they mentioned, I think Tim mentioned, hey, there's people, babies are not born with the innate knowledge of fractions or math or whatever, and yet, teachers teach math. Doesn't mean that math doesn't exist, or doesn't mean that it does exist. It just means that, we are all born with this, we're born knowing nothing. But the thing is, that's not necessarily true, okay? We're not born with innate innocence. We are born with the original sin, which means we are born with the innate knowledge of what good and evil is. We are born with that innate knowledge of rebellion in our hearts. And the thing is, and I've mentioned this a ton of times, especially when there's Usually it's with atheists that are like, oh, you Christians, your God killed innocents. No, there was no such thing as innocence. And anyone that owns a kid, anyone who's not own a kid, but has a kid, okay, or has had a kid in their life, or go talk to your parents about how much of an angel you were. I guarantee you, when they get done laughing and they pick themselves up rafflecoptering on the floor, they're going to tell you just how much of an angel you really were. Because I can guarantee you, you weren't. Okay? I know I wasn't. Okay? I was a downright punk when I was growing up, okay? It's just who we are. We have to be taught those boundaries, okay? And where do those come from? Well, it comes from, number one, our parents, and number two, it comes from the knowledge of good and evil, okay? From Genesis. The stuff that God told us would lead to death. Okay? And it's funny how much people just live that every single day. God walked up and said, you can eat from any tree here except this one here. And if you eat from this one, you will die. And now, you have a lot of people out there fancying themselves as gods. Just like Satan said. And yet, here we have this atheist standing right here and saying, oh, well, the fact that a human being has to tell you about the existence of your God proves there's no God. No, it doesn't. It actually proves that there is an actual God. God can speak to me because we have the Holy Spirit. Okay? But the sheer fact that we have this Bible, okay, tells us that there is a God. Okay? Now, there's a difference between fiction and non-fiction. And if you didn't learn that, Mr. Doyle, then I'm sorry to say that that's not up to us. Okay? To teach you the difference between something like this right here, okay, just over my shoulder, Dune, which is fiction, and this, which is non-fiction. Because there's a hell of a lot of evidence for this. There's no evidence for this. That's how we know there's a God. Because we have a whole lot of evidence backing this up. Where's your evidence? I didn't think so. Let's move on. Number 2. A God belief is simple geography. Being raised in a religious home decides which God you believe in. Not true at all. Not true at all. I can tell you that from experience, and I can tell you that from worldly experience. Because there are plenty of people who were born in non-Christian homes, who believe in the Bible, believe in Christianity, believe in Jesus. There are a lot of people who were born in Christian homes who don't. There are people that were born in Muslim countries that believe in this. So, yeah. Okay? Beyond the genetic fallacy of, well, because you were born here, you believe in this, that's garbage. Because there are people that were born in places where they don't even have gods, okay? They might have spirits of nature, or they might have different things like that, but they believe in this. There are people who... There are documented stories of missionaries going into places like the Amazon or middle of, the Congo, okay, and talking to people, and these people come in and go, that person that you're talking about, I've dreamt about them. Or, we've seen that person, saying that there's going to be people coming that have completely different look than us that are going to tell us about him. And we didn't know who he was. Thank you for telling us that's Jesus Christ. That has nothing to do with being born anywhere. That has nothing to do with simple geography. Because these people have had no contact with any Christians at any time. No contact with any missionaries. And then here comes these people talking about Jesus, and these people are going, yeah, we dreamt about a man who looks very similar to this picture that you're showing us, called Jesus. And you're telling us that he's real? He's not just a figment of our imaginations? Wow. So yeah, that is a bunch of horse shit, to be quite frank. Okay? Because again, we have a lot of documented evidence of people that have gone both ways. Okay? We have documented evidence of atheists, okay, who were raised in atheistic secularist homes that become Christians. We have people that were raised in diehard Christian homes that become atheists and then maybe become Christians again. Okay? Because they kind of fall away from their faith for a while and then they come back. Or, like in the case of The Truth Hurts, he was raised Jehovah's Witness, started questioning his faith, now he's an atheist. I think he traded up for the wrong thing. But, yeah, that's a bunch of crap, dude. Absolute bunch of crap. I'm sorry, it just is. So let's move on to number 3. There was no time before the Big Bang, so that means that there was no time for a God to exist in or create things in. That's assuming that God is in our universe. That'd be like saying that Tron, right? Let me grab something here, okay? Because this is important. So, take the movie Tron, for example, okay? Tron is an interesting film, right? It's almost an allegory for our own belief in God, right? Because they have the belief in the users, right? Okay? Because they're inside these programs, Tron and Yori and all those guys are inside SARC, and the MCP are all inside the computer system, right? Okay? I've been wanting to kind of talk about this for a little while, but I just haven't had the right moment. And so you have this belief. There's these users, okay, that sit outside of the computer system. And they program the information into the programs, right? They insert the instructions into them, okay? And then the program decides how best to carry out that instruction. So Tron, right, he was a watchdog program. He was supposed to be in the system to make sure that the MCP was doing what he was supposed to be doing and not doing what he wasn't supposed to be doing. Like hacking into the Kremlin or, China or the Pentagon or anything like that. Okay? So, the programs in this are like us. Our life goes on. Their lives don't mean anything to us because we don't know what's outside the system. That's where God is. He's outside our system. We have four things in our continuum. 4 dimensions. Okay? If you think about it, time is the 4th dimension. God doesn't exist anywhere inside this spectrum. He exists outside of that. In the 5th, 6th, 7th, wherever. However many dimensions there are in our universe. Right now we know of 4. Okay? We have time, we have space, we have energy, and we have matter. Okay? And outside of that is where God is. Okay? So, assuming that the Big Bang is true, which it isn't, okay, that means that you're trying to say that because our universe started with this rapid expansion called the Big Bang, okay, and there was nothing before that, that means that there was no God to cause that Big Bang. So you're no better than the other atheists that sit there and say, there's nothing, and then there's everything. How does that work? That goes against every fundamental law of physics that we know. Come on, man. Seriously, that is a bunch of crap. Okay, it says the Abrahamic God cannot exist because it wasn't the first God to be created. There are other gods that have been proclaimed to exist before this God. They can't all be true, so if we deny the existence of one of these gods, we can use the same method to deny them all. No, you can't. Because prove to me, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that Zeus existed, and that he walked among the men, and that he was a very vindictive, just really carefree, idiotic son of a gun. Good luck. There's a reason why we call that mythology. Okay? Whereas this, we know is true. Because we know a lot of the events that happen here actually happened. We know where Noah's Ark is. We know where the Red Sea crossing was. We know where Sodom and Gomorrah were. Okay? We have a lot of the altars. We know exactly where Abraham and Lot and Moses and all the Israelites, and we know all these different things. Okay? We have evidence that this stuff actually happened. Okay? In fact, hell, the Jesus Project actually proves that there was a first century man called Yeshua, and he lived in the town of Nazareth, and he went about teaching. We have documentation of this. Secular, historical documentation of this. Okay? So, yeah. That is comparing apples and oranges. Now, any Muslims out there, if you want to prove to me that Allah exists, go right ahead. Give me your best shot. Okay? Because I can definitely say that there's not much proof out there for Allah other than it's a demonic entity. It might be multiple entities, but I know it is at least one demonic entity. Okay? Just like Moroni is a demonic entity. Sorry, Mormons. It is. Okay? But this one, right here, no, you can't. Because there's so much evidence for this Bible that you can't disprove it. You can't just hand wave it away as, oh, yeah, well, Zeus was created, years before that, and we know he doesn't exist. Well, in actuality, this God was around long before Zeus was. Sorry. He's the one. He's the first. He's the original. Okay. Number 5. It says, God either allows the devil to exist and is an accomplice, or isn't an all-powerful God. An all-powerful and loving God wouldn't allow the devil to exist. Isaiah 45:7. So, pull open Isaiah, go to chapter 45. We go to verse 7. It says, who forms the light and creates darkness? Who makes weal and creates woe? I, the Lord, am he who does all these things. Well, let's look at a different passage, shall we? Let's go over to So, God created the heavens and the earth. In the heavens, he created beings called angels. Seems legit. Okay? He's like, hey, I'm going to create these beings, okay, that are going to come and worship me. And one he created was above all the others. His name, he's known by many names, is the father of lies, which is what this is. Okay? But God allows the devil to exist. Now, in Ezekiel Chapter 28, okay, Ezekiel prophesies against the king of Tyre and against the city of Tyre. Okay? And he makes a few prophecies, and then he comes in and he says, woe to the king of Tyre. The word of the Lord came to me, saying, this is chapter 28 of Ezekiel. O mortal man, say to the prince of Tyre, thus says the Lord. Because you are puffed up with pride, and have said, I am a god. I sit in the seat of the gods, in the heart of the seas. When you are but a man and no God, though you count yourself wise as a god. You are wiser, forsooth, than Daniel. No secret thing can they hide from you. By your shrewdness and your skill you have won yourself wealth. You have gathered gold and silver into your treasuries. By your great shrewdness in trade you have increased your wealth, and because of your wealth you are puffed with pride. Therefore, says the Lord God, because you count yourself wise as a god, behold, I am bringing aliens against you, the most ruthless of nations, and they shall draw their swords against the subtle beauty, and they shall strain your splendor. They shall bring you down to the pit, and you shall die the death of slain in the heart of the seas. Will you then venture to say, I am a god, in the presence of those who slay you, when you are but a man and no God in the hands of those who pierce you? You shall die the death of the uncircumcised by the hands of aliens, for I have spoken it, is the oracle of the Lord God. Then it goes on in verse 11. Again the word of the Lord came to me, saying, O mortal man, raise a dirge over the king of Tyre and save him. Thus says the Lord God, you were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and complete in beauty. You dwelt in Eden, the garden of God. You had a shield of every kind and a precious stone, the ruby, the topaz, the emerald, the beryl, the onyx, jasper, the sapphire, garnet, chrysolite, and gold, and on your clothing was a wealth of fine gold. On the day when you were created, I placed you with the guardian cherubim on the holy hill of God, and you walked amidst stones of fire. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, till guilt was discovered in you. Though the greatness of your trade, you filled your mind with lawlessness, and you fell into sin. Therefore I cast you out as a profane thing from the hill of God, and the guardian cherubim drove you from the midst of the stones of fire. You were puffed up with pride through your beauty. You ruined your wisdom by reason of your splendor. Therefore I flung you to the ground, and exposed you for kings to gaze at. Through the greatness of your guilt, through the sins of your trade, you profaned your sacredness. Therefore I brought forth fire from the midst of you, and I reduced you to ashes upon the ground, in the sight of all who saw you. All who knew you among the nations were appalled at your fate, for you have come to an awful end, and shall be no more forever. So, basically, what Ezekiel is saying there is he's comparing. So he basically has Ezekiel say this lament for the king of Tyre, because the king of Tyre fancied himself, a little bit like Xerxes, as a god. Oh, look at me, I'm a god among men. Yeah, look at me, man, I'm a god. And he's going, really? So when all of this comes to pass, and I come down and I smash you, will you then say, I am a god? No. Then he compares him to Satan, whom he says, right there in the Word, I created you perfect until guilt was found in you. Then I cast you out from my presence. So yeah, God allows the devil to exist. In fact, if we go back to the book of Job, okay, in chapter 1, verse 6, says, Now the day when the heavenly beings had come to stand in the presence of the Lord, and the Satan too had come among them. And the Lord said to Satan, Whence do you come? And Satan answered the Lord, saying, From roaming the earth, from going to and fro therein. Then the Lord said to Satan, Have you noticed my servant Job? That there is none like him in the earth, a man perfect and upright, who fears God and shuns wickedness. But Satan answered the Lord, saying, Has Job feared God for nothing? Hast thou not hedged him round about, and his house and all that belongs to him? Thou hast blessed the labor of his hands, and his wealth hast spread abroad in the land. But now put forth thy hand, and touch whatsoever he has, he will curse thee to thy face. So the Lord said to Satan, Behold, all that he has is in your power, only upon himself you shall not lay your hand. Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. And then a whole bunch of stuff happens. All of his kids die. All of his flocks are killed. All of his crops are torched. Okay? Like, he loses everything. I mean, imagine, like, it's almost like the story of MC Hammer, right? You're up here, and you're, like, living high on the hog, and then all of a sudden, within the span of a day, you're crash and burn. Okay? And it's like, and then what happens is that he says, and this is my life verse, because this encapsulates my life, says, Then Job arose and tore his mantle and shaved his head and fell to the earth and worshipped. He said, Naked did I come forth from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And that's what it's about. It's not about whether or not there's a devil or whatever. It's, he's real. He exists. God created him. He disobeyed God. And he sought to corrupt us. And he's still doing it today. This is evidence of it. Okay? So yes, there is an all-powerful God. There is a righteous, just God out there. And just like the truth hurts, you're doing the same thing. Oh, an all-powerful and loving God. No. He is a righteous and just God. Yes, he loves us. He loves us so much he sent his Son to die for us. How much love is that? Think about that for a minute. Imagine, if you will, if you were an all-powerful, just God, and you looked upon creation, and you said, one of my own creations took my creation from me. And to get it back, I'm going to send my Son to die for them. And all they have to do is place their faith in him. That's it. All they have to do is say, Jesus, I place my faith in you, and they become mine. Is that not merciful? Is that not love? Come on, man. Seriously. You need to think about that. Really think about it. Let it sink in. Because that's just Satan talking. Ooh, would God really do this? Come on now. Go watch the Jesus miniseries with Jero and Krabe. Probably my favorite depiction of Satan so far. I love Jero and Krabe as a general rule. I loved him in The Living Daylights. And I've loved him in all the movies I've seen him in, and he plays the perfect Satan opposite Jeremy Sisto. Absolutely beautiful. That miniseries is awesome. It's got Gary Oldman in it. It's got Jeremy Sisto. It's got Armin Mueller-Stahl, Jero and Krabe. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Go watch that miniseries. Number 6. The God of the Bible is jealous of other gods. This proves that this God is not the only one. With multiple choices, only shows that there is no reason to choose just one. If a God were true, there should be no other options. Exodus 34:14. So, okay. So let's go to Exodus 34. Are we sure that's the right one? Let me see here. Form such wonders have never occurred in the Let me see here. Mark that I command you today. I'm going to drive the Amorites, Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites out of your way, so that you must take care not to make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land you are about to enter, lest they become a snare among you. And you must tear down their altars, smash their sacred pillars, and cut down their sacred poles, for you must not pay homage to any other god, because the Lord, being jealous by nature, is a jealous God. Are you sure you kind of forgot that, let me see here. Let me see here. So, what he really should have done was Exodus 20, verse 1 through 3. God spoke all these words, saying, Since I, the Lord, am your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of a state of slavery, you must have no other gods before me. Verse 4. You must not carve an image for yourself in the shape of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is on the earth below, or that is in the waters under the earth. You must not pay homage to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing children for the sins of their fathers to the 3rd and 4th generation of those who hate me, but showing kindness to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and keep my commands. That's really the one he should have done, because that one right there kind of spells out exactly what they were doing in the land of Canaan. Okay, so if you remember, okay, the Israelites come out of the land, okay, of Egypt after they're witnessing all these plagues and all this kind of stuff, and then they cross the Red Sea in the miracle where the waters went away and they crossed, and then the Egyptian army's following, and then they pulls over, and then there's an actual spot. We know exactly where they crossed because there's chariots there belonging to Ramesses. And they they go out onto the Sinai Peninsula. Moses goes up and he gets the 10 Commandments and he comes back down. And as they're approaching the Promised Land, which is now what we call Israel, okay, back then it was called the land of Canaan. Because Jacob, who had his 12 sons, okay, and one of those sons was Joseph, who ended up being sold into slavery by his other brothers, into Egypt, they had a famine, and they left for 400 years. So the Canaanites, who actually lived to the north of what we now call Israel, kind of in the Jordan, Syria area, had moved down into that land. Okay? And so as they were approaching this land, the Lord was saying, I'm going to drive out all of these tribes that are there, and you're going to go in. Now, do not make a covenant with these people, because they are not worshiping me, the Lord, God. Okay? They're worshiping false gods. And as Mr. B said, just because there's multiple choice doesn't necessarily mean that all of the choices are true and correct. Okay? Many multiple choice tests have multiple wrong answers and only one right one. Okay? So what God is saying here is, basically, in verse 4 through 6, is he says, you must not carve an image for yourself in the shape of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is on the earth below, or that is in the waters under the earth. You must not pay homage to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing children for the sins of their fathers to the third or fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing kindness to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and keep my commands. Okay? And what he's basically saying there is if you're loving me as God, okay, I'm going to bless you for uncounted generations. If you're not, punishment. Okay? Yes, the Lord is jealous. Because he is the Lord. He has every right to be jealous. He is a just God. He is a righteous God. Okay? Kind of who he is. It's in his nature. Okay? You can't get away from that. I'm sorry. That's who he is. If you were Lord of the universe, I think you'd probably be a little jealous of people worshiping you over false images or even just angelic beings who decided they wanted to usurp the power for themselves. Satan. Alright, number 7. There is no evidence that spiritual energy exists, so we can conclude that psychics, ghosts, and gods are non-existent. Otherwise, God has nothing to be made of. Really? Have you never, ever in your life watched an episode of Ghost Adventures? I'm happy to say that they have caught a lot of compelling evidence, okay? So much so that I didn't used to be, I was kind of like a borderline. I was not like a total skeptic, but I was not like a total believer until I started watching Ghost Adventures. Because Ghost Hunters was a little iffy, but Ghost Adventures? My God, they're legit. And unless we forget, let me see here. Where did I put it? Oh, I know you're up here. There you are. I've got proof of a ghost hunt. I had a 20-minute conversation with a ghost in a house in Gettysburg. You want a place, if you want to know that ghosts are real, go to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, USA. Spend a day. Just go around the battlefield. I mean, you don't even have to go to any of the other places. Just go to the battlefield. Just stand there and let that energy just flow through your feet. There is so much blood soaking that land. It is insanity how much spiritual energy is there. Okay? And I can say this. In Ghost Adventures, they talk about feeling a wind, feeling an energy. Okay? Before we even started, and I talked about this, if you look at my video on ghosts and the paranormal and stuff like that, okay, I talked about this. Okay? I really did. I talked about this. That when I was standing there, okay, and I it was before we'd even started. They'd given us these little satchels, okay? These little bags that we put around ourselves, and we open it up, and we were looking at the different things, okay? And I had heard them say, if you feel a cold spot, if you feel a breeze, if you feel something like that, you're gonna know that you're in the presence of some kind of spiritual energy. I was like, okay. And I didn't think much of it. But the next thing I know, I felt a hand right here. It was from this side, but it was a hand right here on my arm. I can still feel, okay, I still know exactly where it was because it was that memorable. Because it was just this one cold spot right on my arm. Okay? And we're all sitting there, and we're talking, and, we're doing things, and I'm like, I feel something on my arm. I turned to my ex-wife, and I said, I feel something on my arm. And so I had a little EMF detector. It's the little thing, you turn it on, and it's the same thing that it's the same principle that, you see electricians with that little pen with the little plastic thing on it that they stick in the wall, and then it lets them know if there's any electricity going to the wall socket or not. Same principle, okay? It basically just works on EMF, okay? And I go, wee, wee. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And I could actually feel as though there was somebody standing right here. It was a distinctly female presence, I remember that. And I started doing this with that EMF detector, thinking there has to be something somewhere that is making this nothing, until it went, wee, wee. So yeah, ghosts exist. They do. Spiritual energy exists. How do we know? Okay. We just talked about Satan. I mean, hell, The Exorcist, the movie, is actually based on a real event that happened. And the Ghost Adventures crew, for their, I think it was 100th episode, actually went to St. Louis and spent a night, 12 hours, locked down in the exact house that the exorcist house that the exorcism was performed in. And yeah, they got a lot of creepy-ass responses. Responses that made my hair just go bing! Okay? Because you can't have those type of responses from nothing. There has to be something there. That house is still demonically active today. Just as in Jesus' day, he talked about demonically possessed people. Because what he would do is he would pull the veil back and say, guys, look, here's what's going on. There's a spiritual battle going on here. So yeah, we do know. Let me just change this up. Alrighty. Let me make this just a teensy-weensy bit bigger. There we go. Alright. Almost done. Number 8. This kind of goes right along with the last one. There is no such thing as nothing. For nothing to exist would cause it to be something. Creationists believe that God created the universe out of literal nothing. No. No, I believe he spoke it into existence. I mean, he literally says in Genesis 1, okay, we look at Genesis part 1, it literally says, when God began to create the heavens and the earth was a desolate waste with darkness covering the abyss and the tempestuous wind raging over the surface of the waters. Then God said, let there be light. And there was light, and God saw that the light was good. God then separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day and the darkness night, evening and morning, and the first day. Then God said, "Let there be a firmament in the middle of the waters to divide the waters in two." And so it was. God made the firmament, dividing the waters that were below the firmament from those that were above it. And God called the firmament sky. Evening and morning, the second day. And then he creates land. Do you know that the Latin word universe means single-spoken sentence? We live in a single-spoken sentence, folks. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. We live in a single-spoken sentence. God spoke it, and it came into existence. The thing is, there was stuff here. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and then it talks about what the earth is. At that time, it was just a formless void. So God literally created it. He spoke it into existence. That's this sentence, okay, this up here. You've literally described your own theory. Because this is what they believe happened before the Big Bang. Oh, there was nothing, and then there was this dot, and then it expanded into everything that is today. And as if by magic. Good luck with that. Seriously, good luck with that. Okay, 9. This isn't a finely tuned world created with us in mind. The sun gives you cancer, most of the water is undrinkable, and diseases run rampant. If there was an intelligent designer, there wouldn't be any mistakes. Oh, really? Like the mistakes that we made? Let me see here. Where did that say that again? And so it was. God saw that all that he had made was very good. Evening came and morning the sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all their host. On the seventh day God brought his work to an end, on which he had been engaged, desisting on the seventh day from all his work in which he had been engaged. So God blessed the seventh day and consecrated it, because on it he had desisted from all work, in doing which God had brought about creation. So, yeah. God did create everything finely tuned for us. Because if we were 1 degree closer to the sun, we would be Mercury or Venus, uninhabitable. If we were 1 degree further away from the sun, this 1 degree arc radian, by the way, we'd be Mars. Too cold, uninhospitable. We are right where we need to be. You don't think that's a coincidence? You don't think that some designer put it there? I mean, come on, man. Seriously. You can look at all these other things and say, wow, that's wonderfully designed, but then you look at the Earth and think, well, that's just random chance that we just happen to end up in the exact right position, in the exact right distance from the sun, for life to happen. Seriously? And, I mean, lest we forget that, Adam lived for like 900 years. And like, there was like a whole bunch of people that lived for So Adam lived 130 years before he had a child of his own likeness, resembling himself. We called him Seth. Adam lived 800 years after the birth of Seth, and was the father of other sons and daughters. Thus, Adam lived altogether 930 years, and then he died. Adam lived for a hell of a long time, dude. I mean, Seth lived 105, became the father of Enoch, lived 807 years after the birth of Enoch, thus lived 912 years. Noticing a pattern here? Something before the flood caused our world to be perfect, for life to live for almost a millennia. I mean, think of it this way. We just had the turn of the millennium 22 years ago as of the filming of this video. Okay? The year 2000. So from the year 1000 to the year 2000. Imagine living from, like, you were born in the year 1000 and living to the year 1930. That would be insane. Something had to happen during the flood that created the earth the way that it is now, because the people that live that way then only started living. Their lifespans went from 900 years to like 400, then 300, then 200, then 100, then less than 100. Within a couple of generations. Within like 2 or 3 generations, they were going from 400 down to less than 100. Yeah. It's because of us, humans. We screwed it up. And it's not because of climate change or global warming or any of that garbage. It's because we screwed it up and God judged us. Okay? And he was like, I'm not going to allow these people to live for almost a millennium. Part of that whole justice thing we talked about. So, is it finely tuned? Yes. Do we have diseases? Do we have cancer? Do we have these things? Yes. That is a product of the fall, dude. Original sin. Read it. And then number 10.
Evolution is obviously proven and true. This means that we weren't created by magic and are somehow superior to the animal kingdom. No creator, no God.
Obviously, this guy has fallen hard for the religion of evolution because, no, it's not proven and true. They haven't proven jack squat. Okay, other than, oh yeah, we have a few things that we know kind of go and do these random things and speciation. Speciation doesn't equal evolution, dude. Just because you have a new species doesn't mean that evolution, macroevolution, the actual origin of species, is an actual thing. Show me a dog that has given birth to a cat. Show me a giraffe that has given birth to an alligator. Show me a tree that has given birth to a dog. That's what you believe. That's what you're calling proven and true. You draw lines on a paper and think that that's proof. It's not, dude. It has nothing to do with that. Which means no evolution. There is a God. Sorry. You're out of luck. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you thought of this. And, let me know what you think of all of this stuff. And, I'll probably do another. I'm still going to get to this. But I'm still going to do the Spider-Man thing. I just haven't gotten around to it. I did find it, by the way. My Spider-Man Far From Home collector's edition is right here. Okay, it's got the Night Monkey action figure in it, and it's a Blu-ray combo pack. And so yeah, I was looking for it the other day, and I was looking around for it, and I'm like looking up here, I'm looking down here, and that's why I put the little arrow that was like, it's right here, you doofus. Oh man, because I was like, where the heck is it? I know I have this thing. I was looking right at it the other day. I was thinking it was like up in here or up over here, but I'd forgotten it was right back here. So, so yes, I will be getting to this very, very soon now, and I'm hoping to get to that very, very quickly here. Probably this week or next week as of filming this. So if you're watching this in the future and it's already out, then disregard. I have another comments on comments that I'm going to do as well. I didn't get a chance to sit down and film it yet, so I don't know. We'll see about doing that maybe a little bit, either later tonight or tomorrow. So anyway, I know this one ran a little bit longer than I thought. I was going to try to keep it around 40 minutes, but you know, once I get talking, I'm very loquacious like that. So thank you for sticking with it, and we will see you on the next one.